Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Just recently came across this book called Feast Days and Sabbaths by Joe Cruz. Are they still binding? How many commandments are contained in the 10 Commandments? And for those that say 10, they want to think that this question is kind of foolish. Then consider the fact that thousands of religious people would give an answer like, 94, 110. You see, the strange belief on the part of many that the great God written law of the Ten Commandments was actually a part of the ceremonial law of Moses, which contained scores of specific regulations. They do not see the Decalogue as being distinct and totally unique because of its divine authorship. Neither do they see the clear limitations which the Bible sets for this moral code by calling it the Ten Commandments. It seems quite obvious that one would effectively do away with the 10 Commandments by mingling them with 90 or 100 others and calling them ordinances instead of commandments. Such a radical effort has been made to dilute the force of the only words of the Bible which God wrote with his own hand. Furthermore, the claim has been advanced that since the 10 Commandments were a part of Mosaic law or of ordinances which ended at the cross, we are no more obligated to obey the Decalogue than we are to offer lambs' sacrifices. Is there proof positive in the Scriptures that there is no such blending of the ceremonial and moral law into one? Can it be shown that the Ten Commandments were of permanent, perpetual nature, while the ceremonial law of statutes and ordinances came to an end when Jesus died? Indeed, there is abundance of evidence to answer these questions with a resounding yes. God made known his distinction to his servant Moses, and Moses explained it to the people at Mount Horeb. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that you might do them in the land whither you go over to possess it. Deuteronomy 4:13 and 14. Please notice how Moses clearly separated the 10 Commandments, which he commanded you, from the statutes which he commanded me to give the people. The big question now is whether those statutes and judgments which Moses passed on to the people were designed as a separate and distinct law. God answers that important question in such a way that is no doubt can remain. Neither will I make the feet of Israel move any more out of the land which I gave their fathers, only if they will observe to do according to all that I have commanded them, and according to all the law of my servant Moses commanded them. 2 Kings 21:8. Here we are assured that the statutes which Moses gave the people were called a law. Any child can discern that 2 different laws are being described. God speaks of the law I commanded, and also the law Moses commanded. Unless the truth is understood properly, limitless confusion will result. Daniel was inspired to make the same careful distinction when he prayed for the desolated sanctuary of his scattered nation. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, thy servant of God, because we have sinned against him. Daniel 9:11. Once more, we see thy law and the law of Moses, and this time the 2 are recognized as different in content. There are no curses recorded in the 10 Commandments that God wrote, but the law which Moses wrote contained an abundance of such curses and judgments. The major point of difference between the law of God and the law of Moses, though, lies in the way that were recorded and preserved. We have already cited Moses' statement that God wrote them, the 10 Commandments, upon 2 tables of stone, Deuteronomy 4:13. Compare that with Exodus 31:18. 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God. No one can confuse this writing with the way the Mosaic law was produced, and Moses wrote this law. And it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in the book until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, Take this book of the law and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against thee. Deuteronomy 31:9, 24 through 26. This book of statutes and judgments, which Moses wrote, is in a book, was placed in the pocket on the side of the ark. In contrast, the law written by God upon the tables of stone was placed inside the ark of the covenant, and thou shalt put into the ark the testimony which I shall give thee. Exodus 25:16. At this point, we can note several distinctions in the two laws. They had different authors, were written on different material, were placed in different locations, and had totally different content.